first baby cue is hunger, and you'll know when your baby is hungry if they are turning their head side to side with their mouth open. And that basically means they're trying to find a source of milk, and that's an indication that your baby is hungry. Another way you can tell if your baby is hungry is if you put your finger on their cheek and they turn toward it. It means that they're thinking that that is the source of milk and that they want food. Another one is if their hands are closed in a fist close to them. One thing I learned is like the beginning period of them subtly telling you that they're getting hungry, but if they're past that point, then they're going to be very obvious that they're getting hungry, and they're going to be more vocal about it by moving their body very fast, putting their fist in their mouth, and turning their head faster and more aggressively, and that they're trying to tell you that they're really hungry by crying at a higher pitch. Next baby cue is if your baby is uncomfortable. When your baby is uncomfortable, they'll have jerky arm movements, they seem fussy, and they might be arching their back. Most likely this means that your baby either needs to be burped or has gas or is going to poop soon. So one way of relieving this uncomfortable feeling for them is just go ahead and burp them or do the different techniques to pass gas, and that'll relieve their uncomfortable state. Another one is if they're pulling their legs into their tummy and bringing it, like closing up like a little roly-poly. That usually means that they're uncomfortable and they need to pass gas. Next baby cue is if they're sleepy, and you could tell if they're sleepy if they're yawning, if they look uninterested and their eyes are kind of glazed over, and if they have like a little low type of moaning cry. This means that they're tired and are ready for their next nap. Babies around 2 to 3 months need 15 to 16 hours. Around 3 to 4 months, this reduces to 14 to 15 hours. The wake period for these babies is only 45 to 120 minutes. Next is if your baby needs a break. This happens when you're playing with your baby and they kind of look over off to your shoulders, or their eyes are kind of glazed over and they seem really uninterested in you. That means that they need a break. They are being overstimulated by what's going on. This just means let them chill out, let them like have that little break, and then try to play with them again. Then you'll see that they kind of come back, or they're just kind of sleepy. So that's one way to tell if your baby is needing a break. If you continue to engage with them when they are letting you know that they need a break, they are going to get very worried and fussy and start to cry. Last baby cue is if your baby wants to play with you, and you could tell if your baby wants to play with you if they had wide open eyes, they're cooing and cawing and making weird sounds from their mouth like they're trying to talk to you, and they're making most likely direct eye contact with you. And their body movement is relaxed and are a little like slowish movements, but they're not jerky or frantic. You could tell because they're smiling at you and super cute. But yeah, that's a baby cue that they want to play. Assalamualaikum. You're a little pattern interrupt, aren't ya? Okay, one thing I did when I was a new mom is do a checklist, and this is when I went through the list of what that possible cry would mean. So for example, if I just fed the baby after they woke up and they're feeling kind of fussy and they're crying intensely, then I would be like, okay, the baby needs to burp or they're going to pass gas. So I would either burp them or do the little exercises to pass gas. Next, if I've done those things and the baby is still crying, most likely they want to sleep and that they're hungry, and I'll just check in to see when was the last time they were fed or when was the last time they needed to go to sleep, and based off of that I'll just feed the baby and then put them to sleep. And sometimes they just want to be held, and by doing so that soothes them. They feel nice and comfy next to you, so that's one way to relieve them. Next, if you've done those things and they still seem to be crying, most likely they are starting to get tired and are wanting to feed again and go to sleep. Now you know the different baby cues and what your baby is trying to tell you when they're hungry, tired, need a break, or want to play. Just remember that every baby is different, so this really does depend on each baby, but as you get to understand your baby and know the different cries of your baby, you'll get to know these cues much faster. And I know at first it is very daunting, but you will get the hang of it, and hopefully in this video you now know what to look out for. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.